Hey people, welcome back. Now this video is going to be a little different from my previous videos. Mostly it's because I kind of want to celebrate something. There's a TV show that I watch and it's called A Handmaid's Tale, which is based off the book. And I absolutely love the show, and if anyone wants to see it, I highly recommend it to you. But I just want to point out that in the show there are some pretty rude extremists, and we're gonna see them in season 4, just as this new trailer shows, and I am so excited. But I just want to point out the fact that how they are not real Christians, not only because of the fact that they don't do nice things, but also the fact that they don't celebrate the holidays the way it's supposed to be. Now also, this is partially motivated by a previous video I did. I did a previous video where I analyzed cartoon logic, and the first one was about how I mentioned that Christmas is not a regular Christian holiday, and a couple of you guys actually wondered what were the real Christian holidays according to the Bible. Now look, here's one thing. I know that not everyone is religious, and I know that there are some very anti-religious people who consider that simply talking about religion is forcing a religion upon them. Like, if that's what you feel like, you can click off this video. I'm here just to give an informative video. I'm not here to force anyone on anything. If you're still interested, I'm gonna give you a little hand-me-down of the original and real Christian holidays as they are supposed to be. The first Christian holiday, according to the Bible, is the Passover of the New Covenant. Now I have to point out this is not the Passover in the Old Testament that you see Moses teach to the Jewish people when they had to sacrifice a lamb and eat it on the Passover day. This is basically a shadow of what is in the New Testament. The New Testament basically shows a different kind, the kind of Passover that Jesus set up shortly before he was arrested and crucified. Now you've probably seen this photo by Leonardo da Vinci, and you probably know it as the Last Supper. Well, the original term, the biblical term, is not the Last Supper. It is actually the Passover of the New Covenant, as it is explained in the Bible through John chapter 6, verse 53. In order to have life in us, we must eat the body of the Son of Man and drink his blood. That is what basically grants us salvation, and that is the most important Christian holiday, eating Jesus' body and drinking his blood. Figuratively, of course, on the time of the year. It's not once a week like some churches do it, but it's actually a holiday that's once a year. And like I said, this is the most important Christian holiday, as that's what grants Christians salvation. The next holiday comes the day after, which pretty much all of you know as Good Friday. It is when Jesus was crucified and when he died on the cross. We all know that pretty well. Then the second one is the Resurrection Day, which is on the third day after Jesus' death. Now you probably know this as Easter, and a lot of the cases Easter is kind of accurate with the biblical sense. The only thing is it's not called Easter, it's called the Resurrection Day, and there are no rabbits and there are no eggs. That's a completely pagan festival, but rather on the Resurrection Day, in accordance with the disciples, how they realized Jesus, they had to eat the bread without yeast. And that's how Christians originally should commemorate. I'll say Easter so you know what I mean. They have to eat the bread without yeast. This is basically one of the more important holidays, as this basically shows Jesus' divinity and how he was able to resurrect for the forgiveness of sins. So the next holiday comes 40 days after Jesus' resurrection. Now originally this is 50 days after Jesus' resurrection. 50 days after Jesus was resurrected is the Pentecost, but it starts 40 days after Jesus was resurrected from the dead. That is when he went to heaven, which is known as the Day of Ascension. And this is where he gave his last commandment to the disciples to preach the gospel to Samaria and the ends of the earth. That's how it was. And then for the next 10 days, the disciples prayed and they learned about the Bible, and on the 50th day, which is the Pentecost, that is when they went out to Samaria and the ends of the earth. That's how we commemorate that day. Then you have 3 more holidays. The next one is the Day of Trumpets. That happens 4 months after the Pentecost. To give you some backstory, if you look at what happened to the Jews, this is what happened after Moses pretty much saw them worshiping an idol and then broke the tablets, and then they repented, and then God called Moses back and he was ready to then rewrite the Old Testament. Here's something similar. So what happened originally with these holidays and with a lot of God's commandments? Well, throughout the Middle Ages, the church has really become corrupt. It not only got rid of God's real commandments and its holidays, but it also started doing some pretty nasty things. That's why the Day of Trumpets for Christians is sort of like a prophecy. It is when certain churches will start to separate themselves from the rather really big churches, and that's when they will start to practice God's real commandments and celebrate the real holidays that are in the Bible. Which is why it's called trumpets, like they're calling off all people who are ready to make a new church. Then the next holiday is called the Day of Atonement, which is 10 days after the Day of Trumpets. That is when people are starting to practice the holidays the way they are supposed to be and sort of, feel sorry for all the things that happened in the Middle Ages and how the church became corrupt and everything. And then the last one is called the Day of Tabernacles. The Day of Tabernacles basically commemorates the first day when the new churchgoers will preach the gospel of the resurrected commandments to everyone on the planet. So as you can tell, if you watch A Handmaid's Tale just like me, if you watch A Handmaid's Tale just like me, you can pretty much tell that Gideon does not practice any of these holidays, so they are basically throwing away God's commandments. And putting aside the fact that they are pretty violent people, then you can easily tell they're not real Christians. That's just something I wanted to add, a little something to sort of bring TV shows into the mix and put them on this channel. So let me know what you think. Do you watch A Handmaid's Tale? Have you maybe read the book? I can't wait for the 4th season, which comes out next year.